My fiancé, James, and I have been together for 3 years, planning a wedding for October 2016. A few months before we met, James bought a brand new home in a newer subdivision. We recently refinanced it and added my name. Before me, James dated a woman, Britt, for about 7 months. She's never been to this current house. From what he's told me, they broke up when he decided they weren't as compatible. The breakup was rough, to the point where he and neighbors called the police when she wouldn't leave his front yard and was screaming at 10 p.m. at night. This is all from what he and his sister have told me. I don't have a reason to not believe them. I've only had a few run-ins with Britt. These have been at restaurants or just coincidences out in public. We never spoke up until now. The problem, Britt has bought a house in the same subdivision that we live in. We even share a cul-de-sac. The only reason we found out about this is from a flyer we got welcoming her to the neighborhood. Our subdivision is very community-oriented. James insists he's never told her where he lives and hasn't spoken to her since the night he called the police. We both brushed it off as a coincidence, but lately it's becoming very weird. Here's why. I work for a company that allows me to work from home 3 out of the 5 days. Our home is a ranch and my office window faces the street. I'm not sure what Britt does for a living, but she does not work during the day. From about noon until 3, she spends her time walking up and down our street. When she passes our house, she doesn't take her eyes off of it. It's almost like she can see me in the office. She'll even stop in front of our house and stretch there for about 5 minutes. Every day anyone is at home. It makes me uncomfortable to the point where I have all of our blinds closed during the day. I understand the need for exercise, but she walks for 3 hours just going up and down our street. Another issue is when either James or I are outside with the dog, she'll let her dog outside and it will come sprinting to our yard. This causes her to come and get her dog. Every time she says, "I'm sorry, we're still working on training." James and I are always polite. Normally, I would be okay with this, but James has pointed out that any other time she lets her dog out and we're not outside, she'll immediately correct him before he runs off. She never corrects him when we're outside. We've been getting ding-dong ditched a lot since she's moved in. Something that's never happened in the 4 years that James owned the house. The doorbell will ring around dinner time, between 6 and 8, and by the time anyone gets to the door, no one will be there. It's gotten to the point where our Doberman has picked up the routine and waits by the front door, pacing. The last issue, which I believe might be illegal, is that our mail seems to go missing for a while and then pop back up. What I mean is, Britt will knock on our door and say that she received our mail and is just returning it. This has never happened with the previous owners in her house. We don't have a new mail carrier either. It seems to happen once a week and she'll always bring it on a Friday night. Based on the date on the envelopes, we can tell she's been holding it all week. This has pushed James over the edge because she had our water bill, which resulted in us being 2 days late on the payment. James is neurotic when it comes to paying bills. Every time I have to convince him not to go over and yell at her because we haven't actually caught her taking it out of our mailbox as much as I try to monitor it. She usually gets 2 days worth of mail because those are the days I'm not working from home. The other days I get it right away. I'm not sure what to do at this point. I don't want to piss her off by confronting her, but how can I get her to stop? She's making us nervous and I feel uncomfortable in my own yard most of the time because I know she is watching. I know this sounds strange, but I'm not sure if I can legally do anything about it. I don't have anything against her, it's just becoming an annoyance. He's a fashion photographer, meaning he works alongside many beautiful women in his profession. Stylists, hair and makeup artists, and of course, models. This is actually how we met. I modeled my way through college and he photographed me, after which we became friends and eventually started dating. We have been together now for almost 3 years. I've since stopped modeling, but he is still a photographer. Never once in our relationship has he given me any reason to question his fidelity. With the exception of me, he has never dated or even befriended any of the models he has photographed. That was, until Rachel came into the picture. I've met Rachel. She seems like a fun chick, the type of girl who draws a lot of positive attention just by entering a room. She's beautiful, but her personality really shines through. She makes you feel like you're her best friend when you're talking to her. A very cool person through and through. That said, I'm not the only one who feels this way. My boyfriend also adores Rachel. The first time he photographed her, he stayed late at the studio and discussed ideas for their next shoot for nearly 3 hours. He was actually late for a night out with me because of it. But he's always had terrible time management, so I didn't think anything of it. The lateness has now become a steady, recurring factor in their shoots together. They hang out long after the stylists and makeup artists leave the studio. They also text a lot, and he's always smiling to himself and laughing when he reads the messages she sends him. At first he would show them to me and try to include me in on all the fun, without me asking. But he abruptly stopped doing that around 2 weeks ago. He tilts his phone away from me now when Rachel messages him. I'm not the jealous type, but if my BF had a history of doing this with the other models, I'd let it slide. The fact that he is only like this with Rachel, and me, I suppose, makes me wary of what might have transpired between them. Rachel herself has stopped talking to me. We used to communicate and have an easy, casual friendship via IG and Snapchat, but she pretty much ignores me now. Guilty conscience? I don't know. The real kicker is, my boyfriend now has a photo of Rachel as the wallpaper on his phone. He's apparently proud of the concept and the editing, and claims it has nothing to do with Rachel herself. Which is totally believable, but doesn't sit right with me. I told him that and he told me I was being irrational. Rachel is single, by the way. She and her BF broke up around 3 weeks ago. I really don't want to fall into the jealous GF trope, but what else am I to think? I don't want to make crazy demands and accuse my BF of cheating on me. Even emotionally, but he really does seem to be fond of this girl in a way that really hurts me. He has other female friends, and he doesn't act that way with them. He's capable of being friendly with a girl without flirting or acting suspicious, but with Rachel it's different. He has slowly become very attached to her, and I feel like I'm losing him. I have expressed this to him a couple of times, but he always tells me I have nothing to worry about and that he and Rachel are just kindred when it comes to photography. The long nights, constant texting, and phone wallpaper mean nothing. Oh, by the way, she's practically naked in the photo, and it wasn't taken for any sort of publication, just for fun. Am I being irrational? Unreasonable? How would you feel in this situation? What would you do? Update. My photographer boyfriend has been growing very close to one of his models, and acting dismissive of my concerns regarding their work relationship. He has a practically naked photo of her as his phone wallpaper. WTF am I supposed to think? He and I are meeting for lunch in an hour. He confessed. I'm kind of a mess right now, but I'm lucky enough to have an amazing support system and a clear head. That's all I really wanted out of this unfortunate situation. My boyfriend, sorry, ex-boyfriend, has never taken nude or even partially nude photos of me. Although I modeled in high school and university, my primary focus has always been stage acting. He took my headshots. That's how we met. Not that it really changes anything. Just a bit of insight, I guess. When we were younger and when the relationship was newer, I would accompany him to his shoots all the time. But my own career is very time-consuming nowadays. I know of multiple model/photographer relationships where they accompany each other to every shoot. And I've nothing against doing that, but I personally would rather just trust that my SO is on their best behavior. Obviously what happened here kind of squashes that, but I stand by it. If I have to be there in order to make sure my SO faithful, chances are they'll find other ways to cheat. Okay, now for the good stuff, or I guess, the bad stuff. I met him for lunch Friday afternoon. We went to our favorite sushi joint overlooking the ocean, and I ordered more than I could handle, stuffing my face while trying to decide how to broach the topic of Rachel, but most importantly, our relationship. I went into that meeting with a righteous, ass-kicking speech prepared, but I forgot every word of it almost immediately after we sat down. I guess he could tell there was something on my mind, because he asked me if I was all right, if he had done anything to upset me. Snorts. Yes, Ian, you've upset me very much, actually. As soon as I gathered the confidence to look him in the eyes, I point blank asked him, "What's going on between you and Rachel?" His mouth flew open as if he were completely and utterly taken aback by the implication, but I cut him off with, "Do not bullshit me." I tried my best not to let anger get the best of me. I really did. I wanted to stay cool, calm and collected like so many women on this sub. You know the ones. Those intense stories of cheating husbands wherein the wife takes to relationships, garners a ton of support, and then updates us later with a well-constructed storybook post detailing the evidence she has collected against him and the meeting she had with her uncle or sibling, who just so happens to be a divorce lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm not a badass like that. I wish I were. But I'm honestly just an overly emotional doormat, and I knew going into this meeting that I was either going to cry or gouge his eyes out with my mind. Because I had somewhere to be later, I took a hard left and got super angry. He could see it in me, the anger bubbling over. The people in the restaurant were starting to stare at us, too. In order to save face, I threw money on the table, with tip, and told him to meet me in the parking lot. If I'd had a switchblade on me, I can't say for certain I wouldn't have channeled my inner jet and beat his to the pavement. Kidding. Totally kidding. We met inside my car. He climbed in after me, his head down as though he were ashamed or, I don't know, guilty? I asked him how, and he explained everything to me. No preamble whatsoever. The moment he met Rachel, he felt some type of way towards her. He couldn't tell whether it was just a silly crush or something more, but he knew she felt it, too. How cute. They kissed the first night they met. The night he nearly stood me up. They had crazy, emotional, forbidden intimate the night she and her boyfriend called it quits. And they've been ever since. He mentioned he has always used a condom with her, but I don't care. I'm getting tested. I should mention Rachel was the one who was broken up with in her previous relationship. I don't know why or how. I didn't ask and I don't care to know. Funnily enough, Ian said he doesn't want to be with Rachel, he wants to be with me. And he even provided text messages to show that he's the one who decided not to pursue anything with her on official grounds. But I told him I give zero about what he wants. And unless he can go // his eyes, he should get the out of my car and erase me from his mind before I erase him. I literally said that. In any case, I went home later that day and drank a lot. My friends and family, and most of Ian's friends and family, have rallied around me in support. I guess he told his mother we broke up and how it happened, because she called me this morning and said she's disgusted with her son and that if I need anything at all, she's always there for me. For real, I'm going to miss his family. They're good people. The best people. This is my first adult breakup, by the way. The type of breakup where you're required not only to break up with your so but with their family and friends, as well. These people you've spent so much time getting to know and growing to love, are suddenly not in your life anymore, and it's kind of daunting, really. Daunting and sad and infuriating all at the same time. So, that's the conclusion to this story. That's what happened. P.S. He admitted to cheating with Rachel and then I dumped his. So far, his mother, his teenaged stepbrother, and 2 male friends of his, have reached out to me saying how disgusted, ashamed and embarrassed they are on his behalf. On top of 3 mutual friends. It hasn't been 2 days yet. My son's dad is going through some financial issues at the moment and struggling to make ends meet, and I try to be understanding. I try my best to give my son nice things. Now his nice clothes are reserved for going out. If he wants to play, that's fine, but he can go and play clothes. I do not want him playing in those clothes, and I sent him over there with a bag of causal clothes. We go to mass every Sunday and I have him dressed nicely. Now during mass I gave him to my ex because at that point it is now his week to stay with Alex. However, every single time, Alex will come back to me and his clothes will be wrecked, whether it's played in dirt, ripped. The buttons are off, the jeans are stained or ripped as well. I've thrown out multiple shoes because my ex will not have him change into the play clothes that I sent him in and just let him play in the nice clothes. I do not have him like this all the time. I don't have him dressed dressy or in his nice clothes all the time, just when we're going to something important. Most of the time he's in stuff that he can play in, and comfortable clothes. It's not like I have him in that all the time to where I'm always stopping playtime to change. At this point I'm so over the nice clothes being ruined because he refuses to dress him and play clothes for whatever reason. So before mass ends I will have my son take off the nice clothes and dress in casual clothes. I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and it has helped my bank account a lot to not have to spend a fortune whenever they get wrecked. I'll also point out that I tell him this multiple times, every single time he brings him back with nice clothes being ruined. I will send him a message reminding him to please put him in play clothes before he plays in the mud or the park, etc. However, lately my ex has been very upset that I'm not sending him in nice clothes. I told him that I used to, but he kept on ruining them for whatever reason, and I don't want them ruined. He's saying that I'm flaunting in his face that he's broke right now and can't afford to buy him such nice clothes. That is not at all the case. I said that that is his own insecurity talking because I have never ever done that, and I'm giving him multiple chances. I'd even be fine if he at least washed them to the point where they weren't unwashable and stained. However, he keeps saying that I am rubbing in his face that he can't buy him nice clothes right now. He needs those clothes whenever they go out to somewhere nice, and I'm being an asshole to him because he lets his kid play, and I don't want him to enjoy his time with his son and they're just clothes. I said if it has such a little significance to him then he doesn't need them that bad, and there is no argument here. He's pissed at me. I told her to a couple of my friends and family, and they agree that I'm the insensitive to his situation. I am a 45 years old woman, my husband and I have a 15-aunt daughter Kate and a 9-year-old son Sam. My husband has a brother and a 40-year-old sister, Eva. Eva and her husband James have a daughter, Allegra. She is also 15 years old. Kate and Allegra have always been compared in the family. From the time they were born, it seemed to be a competition of who would walk first, talk first, do more, achieve more. And Allegra was always first. I won't go too much into detail about Allegra because that's not really the point, but I will say she's a beautiful, intelligent, truly one-of-a-kind girl, and her parents have done a great job raising her. My in-laws fell in love with her and think she hung the moon. This bothered me and made me sad for Kate, but I let it go for the most part. There's no doubt in my mind that they love all the kids equally, but out of the 2 girls you can tell who they admire more. Every summer, the whole family visits a holiday home that Eva shares with my in-laws. Over the summer, Kate met a boy, Luke, who was also holidaying in the area. They started dating. This was Kate's first experience with boys. Allegra had friends who were nearby, so for our first few weeks we didn't see her much. About 3/4 of the way through the holiday, Kate invited the boy she'd been seeing to dinner. Allegra was told to come, and afterwards she would be going to a party. At the dinner, it was clear that Luke was very attracted to Allegra. After dinner, Luke decided he would go to the party Allegra was going to as he had also been invited. They both asked Kate to go, but she wasn't allowed and was very upset. My husband and I felt it was not a safe or appropriate environment at her age. Eva informed us, because she knows we do not allow Kate into these environments, that it was an adult party, where there would be drinking and possibly other things going on. Allegra has grown up in a place where these kind of things are much more normal. And Eva and her husband made the choice to let Allegra live those experiences. From what I know and have seen, she handles it exceptionally and it has not caused any issues. However, it is not the way we have chosen to parent Kate, and so we didn't allow her to go. The next morning, Allegra came downstairs and asked to talk to me and Eva. She said at the party Luke was flirting with her and showed her some messages he'd sent her. We decided we would all talk to Kate. Kate spent the next 2 days miserable. When she finally came out of her room, Kate was caustic and everyone was getting a bit fed up with her attitude. Eventually, my father-in-law jokingly said, "Your mistake was introducing him to Allegra. How did you think that was going to go for you?" My mother-in-law told him off but added that Luke handled it terribly, but the outcome was sort of inevitable. Kate left the table in tears. We managed to get through the rest of the holiday, but when my husband brought up plans for Christmas, Kate refused to go. She said she couldn't bear being ridiculed by her own family and constantly compared to Allegra. After seeing how much this was affecting her, I spoke to my husband and said we shouldn't go. He argued that it would be wrong to let Kate take away time with family just because of a boy. I reminded him that this has been happening since they were born, but he said that we can't shield Kate from every special person in the world. He said he would talk to his parents about their comments, but that we should not set a precedent of letting Kate run away from reality.